Hello and welcome to this special presentation on NDTV. Exactly around this time last year, we were having a discussion on how the unlocking process could also help revive the devastating body blow to the economy. Lockdowns were important, but the life versus livelihood balance had to be struck. The process of economic recovery had even started. Industry titans and experts had great expectations and also a revival plan for the government. There was a revival plan presented by the government. But then came the deadly second wave, which has in many ways set us back by a year, and by some estimates, even beyond that, almost putting us in a similar position as last year. The devastating effects of the Delta variant had just shown signs of ebbing, and now there is a fear of a Delta plus variant. Our vaccine drive is just picking up pace. Given these extremely difficult and complex problems, where exactly do we see ourselves as far as seeking solutions for our economic revival? To answer some of these questions and share their experiences, we have an extremely interesting FICCI NDTV roundtable tonight. Mr. Uday Shankar, the president of FICCI, is now with us. Thank you very much. Mr. Sanjeev Mehta, senior vice president of FICCI and also the chairman and managing director of Hindustan Unilever Limited. Thank you very much, Mr. Mehta, for joining us. And Mr. Sandeep Somani, vice chairman and managing director of HSIL. Thank you very much, Mr. Somani, for joining us. It's an important discussion. Mr. Shankar, we'll begin with you first. I'm going by FICCI's very own business confidence survey, which says that overall business confidence index has plunged to 51.5. The demand conditions have deteriorated substantially. Falling sales, lower pricing could bring down profits over next 2 quarters, and discernible fall has shown in outlook on exports and employment. Mr. Shankar, now this is the situation that has been listed in your assessment. In your wisdom, what's the way out?
So whatever our survey had said, and you quoted parts of that, is pretty expected. As you can imagine, as we were hit by the second wave, this survey has been done, between April and May, and when we were in the middle of a lot of disruption, the second wave was rampaging. So this has happened, and its impact is already there for all of us to see. No matter who you speak to, there are various estimates, but suffice it to say that at least a percentage point to 1.5% of the GDP growth has been knocked off in our assessment, and it'll be tough to get it back this year. However, now with the the spread of the virus ebbing and various states opening in a calibrated manner, I think the economic activity is resuming. The important thing, Sankalp, is that Sanket, my apologies, is that we need to make sure that, again, what you started with, lives and livelihoods balance is maintained, and we need to be very, very careful. Last year, around this time when we were talking about it, we had only COVID appropriate behavior to fall back on. Now we have 2 or 3 other devices, and probably equally, if not more potent devices, to make sure that the balance between lives and livelihoods is maintained. First and foremost, we have the learnings from the past, wave 1 and wave 2 learnings, and we must internalize them very, very, very sharply. The second thing is that now we have a vaccine, and the good news is that now the vaccine is beginning to become available at scale. Even though it was 1 day, but we hit a number of 86 lakhs, and we are very encouraged by reports that from the next month, we are even expecting it to go to 1 crore vaccines a day. Now that's going to be really, really important, because finally the lasting solution is the vaccine. 2 other things that we need to be very careful about. One is, the virus, the way it is mutating. And we have to say that we need to be far more vigilant. We could have been more vigilant about the mutation in the virus. We can't probably prevent the mutation of the virus, but we can act ahead of time and save precious lives and impact on the society and economy. And then finally, we need to build awareness. We need to build very strong awareness that vaccine is a lifesaver, and everybody must take the vaccine, because now at this scale, if we are delivering vaccines, we'll be going to a segment of society that may have some some misgivings about the vaccine, and we need to do a good job of making sure that we evangelize them and get them across the line.
Sure.
So those are the things on the side of making the country come to normal and return to normal as quickly as we can. And then there is the economic measures that we need to take, whether it is making sure that we've scientifically monitor, and we are encouraged by that. FICCI played a key role in the approach to unlocking of the economy, and we gave graded solutions, and many states have implemented that.
Sure.
So I think some of those have to be done, but we need to be extra careful that when we do the reopening of the economy, or when we have to clamp down because of incidents of growing incidents of infections,
correct,
they are done in a scientific, thoughtful manner to maximize the saving of lives, but minimize the economic.
I think that's an important point, because unlocking right now, which seems to be only understandable, is also happening at a time when we are worried about a Delta Plus variant. So should there be a rationale behind that unlocking also, and greater coordination is something which we'll discuss going forward. Mr. Mehta, I want to come to you now. Yours is, of course, a huge company that caters to one important sector called the FMCG goods, and this really powers the economy, particularly in the rural sector. I want to ask you, as far as consumer goods are concerned, how bad is the situation in rural India as far as demand is concerned? And also, the government took various efforts last time around to fix issues on the supply side. Do you think that this time around, eventually there will be government intervention that is required? This time around, the intervention should be on the demand side.
Thank you, Sanket. Thank you for inviting me, and my greetings to you and to the viewers. Let me give a bit of a perspective so that we can compare and contrast between what happened same time last year and this year. I think last year same time, when we had the hard lockdown, the biggest impact was on the supply lines, because the factories shut down, the distribution centers shut down, and then there was a massive fear of the unknown. So the consumers started hoarding, there was pantry loading, and so that's the kind of environment we had last time. This time around, because the lockdowns were localized, and the factories kept running, all our own 29 factories across the length and breadth of the country, they kept running. And even our third-party manufacturers, they kept running. I think where the issues were that wherever there were lockdowns, and while the governments in most parts allowed the trade to function, albeit for a few hours, but yes, to an extent it did affect the distribution of goods. And certainly when you look at it from a perspective of wholesale trade, the difference was that this time it was not restricted just to the urban areas, it had spread to the rural areas. So some of the wholesale mandis got impacted, the distributors got impacted, but it is not as bad as it was last time.
Okay.
And there was no panic buying, there was no pantry loading. And even where the stores were open for a few hours, most of the people knew that they can have access to the goods. So they did not rush around storing goods like it happened last time. I think the critical question that you have raised is what's happening to the demand. If we get into the first quarter of the calendar year, there was a massive momentum building. There was hope, there was optimism, and then of course from mid-April we started having the second wave come in. And this time it was brutal, the second wave. And a lot of people have spent a lot of money on health, and like it happens when you have lockdowns, even if you don't have a hard lockdown, a lot of people would have lost their jobs, especially in a country like ours, where we have a large informal sector. So the critical bit will be to assess what's happening to the demand. And initial indicators are pointing towards that the rural will remain resilient. Still early. I think we'll have to wait for a couple of weeks more to assess. but I think the signs are good that as soon as the economy started opening up, we started seeing the demand pick up. So that's a good sign. So we remain optimistic that if the rainfalls are good, if the sowing season, which has just gone, and the harvest that has taken place, if that goes uninterrupted, and the interventions that the government has done, whether it is in terms of Manrega outlay, whether in terms of extending the benefit of free supply of food grains, I think those are the right steps to alleviate the suffering of the poor in rural India. And that should result at the, one also has to understand that on a per capita basis, the rural sales of FMCG are 1/3 of urban. So you have a very low base. But we also have 2/3 of a country people staying in rural India. So it's very important that rural remains resilient.
Correct. That's very important. But Mr. Mehta, you've also listed out 3 ifs from what I could gather. How big a spot of bother are these 3 ifs, and what are the odds of them being right? You see, you've listed out 3 variables for yourself.
That's right. In a country like India, there are always these variables at play. If you look at monsoon, IMD is forecasting a normal rainfall. I think that augurs very well. The government has also taken steps to increase the MSPs. And if the harvest remains good, then again, that should augur well. And if, for instance, we continue helping the poor, I think that should also give them a huge amount of confidence that the essential products are being taken care of, and they will have source of livelihood with Manrega. That should again give the rural consumers a lot of confidence going forward.
Okay. Mr. Somani.
The critical bit, Sanket,
yes, Mr. Mehta,
if I may, is the confidence. Because a lot of the time you put your hands in the wallet and you feel of spending when you have hope and optimism. And consumer confidence is a lot based on hope and optimism. So that will be very critical for us, and that's where what Uday spoke about, vaccinating at speed is going to make a material difference.
Correct. In fact, Mr. Mehta, there are a couple of other questions also for you, but I'll circle back in just a short moment. Mr. Somani, I want to come to you now. Many industry bodies have spoken about direct cash transfers as being a very important step that can be taken. I see that that this is a suggestion that has been made by FICCI as well. Many others talking about big ticket reforms in land and labor. If I talk about the CII, they say that there should be health insurance for all by 2025. Can you suggest those big 3 or 4 things which come to your mind apart from vaccinations? Of course, that is there. But what else can be done apart from vaccination to speed up this growth?
Good evening, Sanket. Thank you for having me on the show. I think, coming out of the wave 2 of COVID, within a short period of a year from the wave 1, obviously there are many things that need to be done. Some I'll give you short-term suggestions, and then there are longer-term suggestions which will have a meaningful impact. So I think definitely going into wave 2 itself, yesterday we were having a chat with CMIE, and they have mentioned that the average household income was already down by 15% before the wave 2 came in. So you can only expect it to be worse after the wave 2. Therefore, it is very important that what you said, last time the government did many interventions, but mainly on the supply side, and that was what was required at that time. I think the time has come when the government has to, this time, make certain moves in terms of the demand side, in terms of stimulating demand. Many families have lost their principal bread earner. Lakhs of people have been displaced from jobs. So, and of course, there have been many people who have had to pay a significant amount of money to hospitals for health care. Now, all this has gone out from their savings. Therefore, it's very important to build consumer confidence, in letting them believe that their future is better, and therefore a cash infusion for the lower segments and the vulnerable people is very, very essential. So, for example, people below a certain income threshold should be given a direct cash transfer into their Jan Dhan accounts. That's one suggestion that FICCI has made. Second, the Manrega has been extended, but it should be done for 150 days, and maybe the wage rate should be raised for this year to compensate to the people and get them a better income. FICCI has also suggested that the Manrega type scheme should be started for the next year for the urban poor, because they have also suffered and there is no such scheme for them. The MSME, as you know, that sector is a very large employer of people. And that sector, unfortunately, suffers the most when you talk about industry. The ECL GS scheme, which the government of India launched last year, was of significant help. But it will expire on, September this year. Therefore, it's recommended that 3 lakh more crores is made available to that scheme, and that scheme should be extended till March 22, if not September 22. That will help the small scale, less small scale industries folding up, and obviously, therefore, it will protect employment. The other thing that should be done very clearly is that, the retail and wholesale trade have suffered. The people who suffer the most are the retailers and the wholesalers when the lockdowns are announced.
Correct.
So the MSME type benefits which the government announced last year, many of them, should also be extended to the retail and wholesale trade. Today they are not classified as MSMEs, so they don't get any benefit. And they actually get no benefit in the current system, and there are lakhs of retailers and wholesalers, many of whom will close because of the 2 successive pandemics so close apart. Then, of course, there is, we need to improve consumption, and there FICCI has suggested to the government of India that first the Employees Provident Fund can be waived for the employee. The Employees Provident Fund, the employee should be able to take for the next year.
Yeah, some of these suggestions maybe the government has understood and perhaps even reflected in their various policy changes. I'm going to come back to you in just a moment. Mr. Uday Shankar, you and the other guests here also have mentioned vaccine as that Ramban Ilaj as far as getting the industry back up and the economy thriving. The Finance Ministry report says that 70% of the people should be ideally vaccinated by September. Now, how do you and what do you think should be the role of the private sector in this? See, it is in your interest that people get vaccinated. It is in the interest of the country and the industry that people get vaccinated fast. So, what's the role that the industry itself can play?
There's no need to speculate on the role that the industry should and can play, Sanket. As you said, it is in our self-interest to vaccinate. First, vaccinate our workforce, then vaccinate as much as we can in the neighborhood, because our workforce is only as safe as the neighborhoods that they operate from. The real problem so far was that one, in terms of the vaccination policy, there were limitations of participation that the private sector could have, and the second one was the access to vaccine itself. Now there has been a streamlining of that policy. Government has very clearly laid down guidelines on how the private sector could come in and participate, and access to vaccine for the private sector itself is becoming much easier. You could just tie up with hospitals and start doing that. And I think there is already a massive change that's taking place, and almost every day as you go along with more vaccine available, more and more private sector companies will start doing that. And even for the smaller ones, so for instance, large number of our members come from MSMEs where the numbers are so small that it's difficult for them to organize this. There, FICCI itself is doing that. We are collaborating with local hospitals all across the country, and we are making sure that our members have access to the vaccine. The need is to take it further to even where people live, to housing societies, to other areas, And I think the private sector is very, very, now that the policy and availability both have been, both are getting better. I think the private sector, you will see, will step up and do,
Sure.
Exactly what is required.
Okay. Mr. Mehta, now I see that some of the suggestions that have been made by FICCI are very interesting and particularly, reflect the point on boosting demand. For instance, there's this very interesting thing about having consumption vouchers. What do you feel and how do you feel this is actually going to help boost demand? If you could just read out or read this out for the benefit of our viewers. To energize retail activity, government can consider issuing these vouchers. Consumption vouchers can be provided by the government to consumers in lieu of cash for purchase of goods and services only. How does this help?
That's right. Sanket, if you look at it, the government would always fear that if you put money in the hands of consumers, they may end up saving the money rather than spending the money. And if your objective is to boost consumption, the consumption voucher is a good novel idea that you will get the benefit only if you spend the money. And the other benefit is that the government's taxes will go up because the people are going to spend that money. So that is the genesis behind the suggestion of the consumption voucher.
I think that's a very interesting suggestion. Let's see if that happens.
And if
it's almost like a coupon. Yeah.
Sanket, if I can just add to that, I think it's as you said, it's a novel idea, but this works on both, demand side and supply side, because a lot of people, businesses that were impacted, they're trying to drive their sales. And if, our suggestion is that, let's say if you gave 30% worth of discount vouchers, then for something that costs 100 rupees, consumers are going to have to pay only 70 rupees, 30 rupees comes by way of these vouchers. And as Sanjeev said, government revenues go up, but there is a huge tendency to spur consumption. And there is a huge incentive for people to produce and supply more. So I think it's, exceptional times require exceptional ideas.
Correct.
And this is one of those ideas.
This is one of them. Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but unfortunately not a lot of time, particularly on healthcare. But Mr. Shankar, I have to ask you this question. This is slightly on the sidelines. You are aware of all that is happening between WhatsApp and government and Twitter and government. This is also associated with international investment and the sentiment in the country. I want to know your views. How is this issue being handled and how should it be handled?
So, Sanket, I didn't realize that we were discussing this as well, but here are my views. Look, first and foremost, there are multiple issues over there. There are some regulatory issues that are being explored by bodies like the Competition Commission, etc. And those are within a legal framework. Those regulatory authorities are empowered to do the explorations. And India is not the only country which is looking at the behavior and conduct of business by big companies globally. So there is that process. Then there is this whole issue of regulating the behavior of the company. I think we need to be mindful. We need to put guardrails for everybody, whether it is tech companies, social media companies, content companies, or any other company. I think nobody can be allowed to operate in a freedom, in a vacuum. However, we need to be very careful about ensuring that we don't throw the baby with the bathwater. These are businesses, they create value. That is why they are so successful, so many consumers and subscribers they have. The legal framework for that should be very, very clearly laid out. And that legal framework should be transparent, consistent, and should evolve from a wider consultation. That is one thing that I would like to say.
Okay.
The second thing is the transition to some of those, those behavior, new behavior, is both a technological challenge and a business challenge. And we need to give enough time to move to those, to adapt and integrate those things. Otherwise, we'll again causing massive disruption. The third thing is that we should be also very careful that not everybody, just because you're putting these guardrails, not everybody should be, not everything is a criminal activity. And I do have a point of view on this individual criminal liabilities that are being put on the executives. That flies in the face of Prime Minister's desire to improve the ease of doing business, decriminalizing the conduct of business. There are criminal activities in business and there are non-criminal activities in business. That distinction must be made, and that is a very important one. And to your point about investment sentiment globally, those are the kind of things where we need to be very sensitive, that we put the right robust processes, but we make sure that they do not end up giving scary signals. And then finally, we have to be mindful that these businesses came up and became successful because they were totally breakout ideas. And the creativity, whether it is technological creativity or the creativity of the business idea itself, we should not do anything that that sort of discourages that. But that said, we have to make sure that you cannot say that I'm doing something and there are consequences coming out of that for the society or the consumer, but I'm a business and I'm not responsible for that. So it's an important balance that we need to strike.
Sure.
I think we cannot just over-index in one direction or the other.
Yeah.
It's a journey, and I think we should undertake that journey, but we should undertake that journey very cautiously.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Shankar, Mr. Mehta, as well as Mr. Somani, for joining us on this discussion. That's a wrap in this special edition, but news will continue on the other side on NDTV. Stay with us.